Well, the fallout continues as we hit the 9 o'clock hour. From Tuesday's local elections, we saw some good, some bad, and some ugly. And I wanted to get the input of that from somebody on the inside. You know, I mean, I don't consider myself on the inside. People that do this for a living know the ins and outs of local politics far better than I do. Are going to have viewpoints on this beyond what I may have on a day-to-day. And one of those folks is Dustin Morris. He is with Alpha Strategies here in town. He knows this town and, the area politics like the back of his hand. So he's joining us in studio. Dustin, good morning.
Thanks for having me on, Pete. Happy to dive into it and see pluses and minuses and what we can do going forward.
Well, let's start with one of the pluses. And we didn't really touch on this yesterday, but Wyandotte County actually had itself a pretty successful night. What is going on there?
They did. They cleaned up in almost every race.
Republicans did.
Republicans did, yeah. School board races, city council, Kansas City Community College, that was a four-way vote for four. And they cleaned up 3 of 4, but the top 3 vote getters, by far and away, Republican candidates.
In Wyandotte County. How about that?
And shout out to Roz Woody with the Wyandotte County GOP. They did everything that you needed to do. They got their people mobilized. They got good candidates on the ballot. Current sheriff won his race I think it was for school board. A former sheriff won his race as well. So, candidate quality matters, but also just organizing at the grassroots level, getting people motivated can have a positive outcome in a deep blue county for Republicans.
Well, look at this. I mean, look at the last 5 years. Wyandotte County's, I don't want to say it's trending red, but it's kind of, it's more compelling, at least right now, than Johnson County, it seems. So is this part of a national trend? Like, we've seen in some of these polls where working class minorities are shifting more to the right, or at least more interested in Republicans, or is it more unique to what's going on locally?
Possibly. I don't know, everything that they're doing there on the ground. I'm sure they were talking to everybody that they could. That turns out in these elections in Wyandotte. I know people here for Johnson County think 25% is low turnout. Actually pretty high turnout. Past elections in, 2019, 2017, we were seeing less than 20% turnout. But in Wyandotte County, turnout was still low, 15%. So that gives you a lot of advantages when turnout's so low. If you move it by a couple points, you can have big successes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Dustin Morris, Alpha Strategies here in town, is joining us on KCMO. Successes in Johnson County, Prairie Village, you would say, is kind of the success where they took that issue of rezoning and they won, I think, 4 of 6 races on the city council there in Prairie Village. So is that something that can be applied countywide potentially, or is that kind of a unique situation there in Prairie Village?
Well, we've seen that issue across the county. Seen it in Olathe, seen it in Overland Park with the mayor's race 2 years ago. And we clearly found out that even woke liberals in deep blue areas of the county don't like apartments in their backyard. But again, they also had great candidates on the ballot. One of those folks was Nick Riddell. He's from the area, grew up in the area. He's run for office there before. But again, they worked it hard. They got Democrat support and just talked to everybody on a specific issue to get people out to vote.
Now, when you look at some of the losses, whether it's Johnson County Democrats had a very good night. If you look at their endorsement list, I think it was maybe, 60-some-odd% of their endorsers ended up winning. City council races, school board races, all over Johnson County, they had a lot of success. So why?
That's a good question. I mean, we definitely slid backwards for sure from 2021. We had COVID working in our favor back then. That motivated a lot of people to come our way because we were just talking about getting kids back into schools. If you look at the Shawnee Mission School District area, again, candidate quality mattered. All 4 of them, good folks, met them all, talked to them all, had no business running. And in 2021, we had 3 solid candidates. They raised the money, had the support. Again, they lost, high watermark of 40% for a district-wide candidate. But this time around, we're back down to 25%.
Really? It was that low. Now, the money side of this, I mean, I had a lot of folks reach out to me and say, how do we compete when you have outside money coming into school board races that are unpaid in Johnson County?
That's both sides. Red herring argument. I mean, you had the 1776 PAC spending money in Blue Valley. They didn't spend it in Olathe this time around because they saw polling numbers that didn't look great.
Is that a national PAC?
That's a national PAC. They even got a shout out on Fox News the Monday before the election.
Oh, that was the Laura Ingraham thing, right? That was the Blue Valley was on Laura. I think that was Friday night or something last week.
They couldn't figure out where Blue Valley is. They had some random place in northern Kansas, but at least they got the shout out.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying that's, I don't want to call it an excuse, but it's not as big of a deal as some are making it out to be.
It's not. I mean, the Democrats, we caught them off guard in 2021. They ran, their candidate quality was pretty poor. They had candidates in Blue Valley that didn't spend a lot of money. Jim McMullen, for example, who won his race by a very tight margin. I think it was less than 100 votes. He outspent his opponent 4-1. Mm-hmm. In the Olathe School District in 21, we didn't quite outspend the Democrats, but the two Republicans that we got on there, their Democrat opponents might as well just been a dead body. They didn't raise any money, spend any money, do anything, and we snuck two in there. But we had a tight competitive race with Jenny Gilmore in 21, lost by a wider margin this time around, but Democrats finally, they woke up to the fact that, hey, we've got to start being more competitive. And in the Olathe School District, there was about, I believe it was 6,000 new voters. Well, 6,000 more voters this time. Turnout percentage was about the same, but more people registered to vote. Half of that total came from the Olathe School District. And that's most of Olathe, part of Lenexa, smidgen of Overland Park. And it's clear they invested in turning out their voters in Olathe.
Is that about, so it's like all the, people are saying yesterday, well, no one knocked on my door. No one, I mean, does that, first off, you can't knock on everyone's door. That's impossible.
You can't.
So is it really just about the money then, more than the ground game?
Yeah, that's the sad truth in politics is usually the person with the most money wins. But you can often get people in, if you've got a really hyper local issue that people are fired up about, you can win on those, but you got to have money to win elections.
Mm-hmm. It's a reality. Dustin Morris, Alpha Strategies here in town, is joining us. So, I mean, when you look at the county at large, city council races mostly went the way that the Johnson County Democrats, or I guess the Kansas Democrats, endorsed and wanted it to. What's the takeaway for people who might be frustrated by the outcomes of these local elections? Well,
if you're frustrated, I think I've said it every time I've been on the show after election, you got to get involved. I'm tired of people complaining. Yeah, you're not knocking on my door. I'm not seeing anything about candidates. I don't know who to vote for. I mean, in 2021, we sent out voter guides. And, this time in 2023, the county party mailed out voter guides. We can't mail to every Republican. I sure wish we could. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. But if you're sitting and listening to the show the last couple days and you're thinking, where the heck is the county going? It's time for you to step up and get involved. Mm-hmm. Whether that's you running for office, you getting somebody to run for office, you giving money to a candidate, getting involved with the county party, or just helping somebody go door to door, or using your network. If you tell 10 of your friends to go vote, and this is the person I'm going to vote for, that it's shown out in data, in political science research, that you telling one of your friends to go and vote has a greater impact than any amount of money a candidate can spend.
All right. So, and you mentioned candidate quality and what that looked like around the county. I mean, what is that process when you say find a good candidate? What's that mean?
Well, it's, unfortunately, sometimes we're drawn from a very small pool. You for better for us, you get, sometimes you get some good candidates like Mike Zenigi, who ran in 21, stepping up. But again, he was motivated because of a local issue going on in his backyard. So, that's a diamond in the rough. So it's sometimes you got to have a really good bench and talent development. Mm-hmm. I think we're getting better at that in local races. I mean, if you look at the Shawnee City Council races, all great candidates, great people, very close margins. that they lost by, some less than 1 percentage point.
Wow.
And, Shawnee was the real area that kicked it off well before apartments were becoming an issue, that their people were standing up saying, yeah, we've got to stop these developments that are going in people's backyards. This doesn't make sense. That still kind of carried through, but our people just kind of stayed at home this time, and Democrats caught us off guard.
Do you think, that apartment issue, is it really that Democrats want apartments in their own backyards, or is it just that, they're more likely to basically go vote for someone if the party tells them to?
I think it's, more of what's going on in your backyard. I like to tell my clients and people that I talk to that voters are extremely visual. You think potholes. You think, what am I seeing? Money coming out of my paycheck if you're still getting the paper stub. But if there's a big development going in your backyard, you finally sit there and pay attention and go, oh, wow, I've been asleep this whole time. Who the heck are the people running my city council? And then you find out that sometimes, that's not people that have my best interest in mind. Yeah,
well, it seems like that's unfortunately the case. And the apartment crowd had a good night across Johnson County.
They sure did. Unfortunately, in Overland Park, it's now solid Democrat majority. Don't see that changing. Olathe, mixed bag. We've got a Republican mayor still. That's great. More Democrats elected, though. But the vision just isn't there to say, hey, we need to pump the brakes on this overdevelopment.
And you'd think it would be bipartisan, though, like Prairie Village, but it's not in these communities right now.
It's not. It's mixed. Prairie Village, still very small town, so it's easy to get your neighbors out to vote.
Yeah.
But in Olathe, you're talking city council districts that are the size of 2.5 state house districts.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money.
That's true.
And it's very difficult to run those races when there's such low attention. You got to beg people for money. People aren't interested in it, but they get interested when people lose.
Yeah.
And then it's too late.
That's the moral of the story right there. Get involved if you want to get involved, right? That's the moral of the story.
That's right.
All right. Good stuff. Dustin Morris, Alpha Strategies here in town, giving us the breakdown after Tuesday on KCMO. Thanks for being here.
Yep. Appreciate it, Pete.
You bet.